Hello, this is Adam with DreamMade Productions. This video is made possible by the very kind donations of viewers like you. Thank you. If you are in a position to help this channel improve quality and grow, please visit my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Alright guys, so I was going through some boxes and I found two cardboard boxes that were absolutely full of books. Now, books aren't the most interesting toys to look at, but I went ahead and pulled the ones that I thought would be interesting. Most of them I just threw out, all my old college books. No one really cares about stuff like Introduction to Principles of Psychology from 20-some years ago. So a lot of that stuff went. I kept my accounting books since I still work in the field, and even though I haven't looked at them for years, who knows, they might be useful until I retire. The rest, some of the other stuff I found, I want to share with you now. First up, we have The Fred Factor. Now, this is one of those books that they handed out at some point at work. I'm not keeping this thing. Next, I have this Colored Gemstones guide. This was from another job where I was working at a jewelry store for a brief time. Yeah, I'm not keeping this thing either. Next up, we have this Midwest War Games Association newsletter. I kept this mostly because I knew the guy that made these, that had these model airplanes. He was super cool, an old professor of mine. This is full of just kind of miniatures, gaming rules and articles and interview, different tables and stuff. I'm going to keep this mostly because memories of knowing the guy that did some of the stuff in it. Next up, I have the Iliad from Homer. This was one of the books that I had to read in college. I'm keeping this thing. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Got this one used. Had it for college, one of my English classes, keeping this thing. The Odyssey. Oh, so much in this. Again, got it used. Survey of World Literature. Yep. Definitely keeping this. The Acts of King Arthur and His Noble Knights. I'm a big King Arthur fan. Just the story is awesome. Got this used. Again, for school, people had already made notes in it. I'm going to keep it for now. If I ever get a better version of the Knights stories, then I'll keep that instead. Next up, I have this Star Trek Captain's Log book. I don't really remember where this came from. I probably got it for Christmas or something one year. As you can see, it's literally just a notebook, a diary, or whatever you want to call it. Pretty, but yeah, I'm not going to keep this. I don't keep a log like this, and it's kind of just a waste. Next up, we have Freddy the Frog. This is one of those learn to read books for very young children. I honestly don't remember this thing. I don't even remember if it was mine. Nice artwork inside. This thing, I have a friend that has a young child. I'll probably give it to him. See if he wants to use it with his kid, to see if he can teach him to read with it or something. Next is this Track Against Time. Again, this is something I don't remember at all. Maybe I read this thing when I was like in elementary school, middle school or something. I'm not keeping this. I don't even remember owning it. Next up, we have the Dragon Slayers. I probably read this as a kid. I remember having this book for a long time. Probably picked it up in middle school, but I'm not going to keep it. Next up, we have Clue, Booby Trapped, number 6 of the Clue books. from Scholastic here, probably from one of the book fairs that they used to have. Actually, it looks like it's from Kmart in there. Another novel, I kind of remember having this thing, but I don't know if I ever actually read it. I'm not going to keep this. Maybe somebody else will want it for their collection. Now, this book is a book of Bible stories. I really remember this book because this is a book that my grandma used to read to me. I'm not super religious or anything, was raised Southern Baptist, but grandma was church all the way. And what we got here? It looks like it's an envelope from my church dated December 27th, 1981. Geez, I wasn't even a year old when that was donation envelope was put in here, apparently. Anyway, some artwork in here, lots of stories based on verses of the Bible, and it tells you about it. Goes, kind of following the Bible here. Pretty decent. Lots of time with my grandma reading this. As you can see, it's from 1969. Goes all the way back to 1925. This thing, I'm going to keep it just because it has to do with my grandma. Your Hopeless Charlie Brown. This is one of those collections of comic strips. As you can see, it's not in the best shape here. Man, $1.95 for books? Geez, you can't even buy them used for that much anymore. As you can see, this is just a bunch of the comic strips. It's from a library, it looks like. Yeah, it's seen better days. I'm not going to keep this thing. Charlie Brown was not one of my favorite characters. Next, we have The Far Side. Once again, another collection of comic strips. The Far Side was always kind of cool with it being kind of funny all in one panel. It's weird to see these from the library of. Wow, I don't even remember where this came from. I'm not going to end up keeping it. It's seen better days. Hopefully it'll go to somebody that wants it. Garfield Out to Lunch, the 12th of his collection's books. Oh, I loved Garfield. Garfield and Friends on Saturday morning was one of my favorite cartoon shows for a while. As you can see, this is just another collection of newspaper comic strips. Garfield is pretty funny. Always love him. Had this book for a long time. But as again, you can see, it's seen better days. I'm going to keep this thing around for a while maybe, but I'll probably end up replacing it. Next, we have this manga sketchbook. This was given to me for Christmas a few years ago. I'm just not an artist. I struggle with stick figures. I took art classes in middle school and high school and tried really hard and practiced a lot, and little kids could draw better than me after all those classes and stuff. It's just not a talent that I have. This thing, I'm not going to keep it. Hopefully an artist will buy it and really enjoy it. All right, got some stuff to show you here. This is the Dungeons & Dragons Tale of the Comet. Magic versus Machine. This was my first Dungeons & Dragons novel. Probably not the best place to start. Dragonlance or Forgotten Realms probably would have been better. As you can see, this is from TSR. I think I read this twice. I'm kind of back and forth whether to keep it or not. I'm going to keep it around for now. Next, we have two books from the Prydain Chronicles. I read these in middle school. I actually read them out of order. I started with The High King, which is the last of these novels. The Prydain Chronicles are best well known for The Black Cauldron that Disney turned into not the best movie, but has grown to be a cult classic. I don't even remember where Terran Wanderer was in the book series, but I remember them being pretty good, but both of these are in pretty bad shape. I'm going to keep them around for now. One of these days I might buy a collection and replace them. I'm going to have to think about that. Now, I have something else to show you, which will be really interesting. This is Whiz Kids. It's a comic book, but the really interesting part of it is it's from Radio Shack. Radio Shack put this out, and as you can see, it's branded with Tandy Computers. This was given out to get people, it's definitely seen better days. It was to get people kind of talking about technology, kids interested in things like computers and circuit boards and VCRs and TVs and just generally, engineering and how electronics worked. This thing, I'm going to sell it. Hopefully somebody that doesn't mind the damage will get it and really enjoy it. Next we have DuckTales. This is one of those read-along books that originally came with a cassette tape. I have no idea where this cassette tape is. I remember reading it and listening to it and stuff a lot. I loved DuckTales growing up. Got a lot of use out of this book. This thing, no, I'm not going to keep this around. Going to try to sell it and hopefully a kid gets it. Maybe somebody that still has the cassette tape. Speaking of cassette tape books, I have the Dick Tracy books. These books are, again, one of those read-along, listen to the cassette tape deals. I remember the production on these cassette tapes, particularly this one, being really good, having lots of sound effects, and when Dick Tracy punched somebody, I think they used the same sound effects they used in like Indiana Jones because it sounded like an explosion. It follows the events of the movie pretty close. These things, I don't have the cassettes anymore. I have no idea where the cassettes are, so I'm not going to keep them. Next up, I have this book, The Van Buren Incident. It's a Scholastic book. This is probably from a middle school book fair or something. I've had this book for a long time. I remember having it, but I probably read it. I don't know. I'm not going to keep this thing. Next, I have some Star Trek The Next Generation books. These are Starfleet Academy books starring Worf. I know I read these. I remember them being pretty good, especially for somebody being in middle school. I don't remember at all what happened to the... Hey, what do we got here? Apparently I was making lists of wrestlers at some point and stuck it in this book. Wow, okay. Whatever, early middle school me was writing down wrestler names for some reason. Anyway, back to this book. These books, good for a kid, I guess. Me, not going to keep them. I've had them for a long time. I don't remember them. I'm not going to reread them. Next up, I have the Star Trek Deep Space Nine, number 2 book here. I don't have number 1. Probably read this thing. I don't remember it. I don't know what happens. Pretty sure this happens during season 1 of the show. I'm not going to keep this thing. I'm a huge Deep Space Nine fan, but I don't remember this book. Now, let me show you something else that's really interesting. 2 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles books. These I definitely do remember. I probably read these each 3 or 4 times. These were some of the first quote-unquote real books that I read, that were longer than, the little read-along books. I've had these for a really long time. I don't remember anything about them, but I do remember reading them, and these are being some of the really early books that I did read. I'm still not going to keep them, though. I'm going to let these go to somebody that's a Ninja Turtles collector. Definitely going to try to sell these. Next, we have this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story action book. This came out with the original movie and is, of course, based on it. It basically retells the movie story with, screenshots from the movie, sometimes like with Casey Jones there with some dialogue written in, but also uses art from the cartoon. It was confusing for some of us kids back then, the difference in story, like where was the Technodrome and stuff. This kind of mixes and matches art from each, but sticks mostly to the movie storyline and the movie characters, with some pulls from, I'm assuming, art from the show. Shredder's favorite quote is "grrr." Got some weapons here, but an axe? The 4 Ninja Turtle weapons make sense, but why throw an axe in there? Well, whatever. The artwork is cool because it's all shots from the movie. The drawn art is cool because it looks like it's from the show, or maybe the packaging of the toys. This thing I've had for a long time. I was a big fan of the movie, but I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to let this, of course, go to a bigger Ninja Turtles fan, and hopefully they'll enjoy it. Next, we have the consumer guide for Turtle Power, the unauthorized history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This also came out around the same time as the movie. This is just sort of an overview of everything Ninja Turtles at the time. It talks about, the story of the Ninja Turtles in the show and in the movie. Gives a breakdown of each of the characters. It has some screenshots from the movie, pictures of the toys, some art from the show. Here you can see where they're just talking about all the toys that came out and showing you what they look like. Not sure if this seems to me just to be a big ad. Like, this is just buy stuff. It talks about VHS tapes for the show. Just all kinds of stuff about Turtles. Some of the just random merc in there. I've had this thing for a really long time, but I'm not going to keep it. Again, I'm going to try to sell this to a Ninja Turtles collector. Next, we have another read-along book. This is Super Mario Bros. 3, The Secret Bridge. This came with a a cassette tape. As you can see, it's just a quick read-along, a little adventure to kind of match the cartoon show of Mario Bros. 3, which I really, really liked. Big fan of the game. This thing, I'm not going to keep it. I don't have the cassette tape. It's not in the best shape. Maybe somebody will buy it. Next up, I have a big thing that I want to share with you guys. These are the Worlds of Power books. These are novels that were based on the different games for the NES, again by Scholastic. Early ones came with, or later ones I think came with trading cards. Got the Wizards and Warriors one here with the trading cards still in it. And these basically kind of fleshed out the story of the games. Whereas in the game, usually you got little to no story, and maybe there was a couple of pages in the instruction manual. But these really broke down and gave you a lot more story. I know I read these as a kid. Looks like I was in the middle maybe of Castlevania. Oh man, Metal Gear, Ninja Gaiden, Blaster Master. Ooh, wish I had more of these books actually. These look really cool. These, it's a cool collection. Yes, I'm going to keep these things. These are fucking awesome. At some point, I'm going to read these things again. Well, that's it, guys. That was the box that I found that was kind of stuff worth showing. Like I said, there were some other just textbooks like History as Western Civilization from 1999 or something. Some other textbooks that I just gave the old heave-ho. I'm going to keep a few of these, and the rest will either be given out, probably up on eBay soon, or we'll hit the trash can. Well, that's it for this time, guys. Next time, we're going back and pulling out some toys, and I'm going to start trying to pull out some better stuff to show you and make a little bit longer episodes of this. It's been fun going through these boxes, and people seem to appreciate it. Did you have any of these books growing up? Do you have the rest of the Worlds of Power books? Or was there a book that you just loved as a kid and just can't get rid of? Did you like the read-along books that they had on cassette tape? You know, they even had some of those on vinyl. I think I had like a Muppets one that was on vinyl. but it's too long ago to remember if I'm remembering correctly. These read-along books really help as a kid. I wish they still had them around. I think it's one of the reasons I love audiobooks these days so much. Listening to Star Wars audiobooks and Warhammer 40k and other audiobooks, it's just wonderful. But anyway, I'm rambling again. Thanks again for watching. Leave any comments below. I read and try to reply to each and every one. And as always, I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come. Hello, this is Adam with Dream Made Productions. Thank you for watching my content. It really means a lot that you have given me the chance to entertain you. If you would like to support the channel, please visit my Patreon at patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Also below is a link for PayPal, or links if you would like to send crypto, if that's more your thing. Please know any amount that you give will be cherished and used to upgrade equipment and improve the channel. You can also help the channel by subscribing, turning on notifications, liking, commenting, and sharing my channel with anyone you think might be interested. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come.